Many people told me even if you pass, you won't be able to work. The patients won't accept you, they will reject you. But I thought, okay, I will try, I will see how it is. And at the beginning, I wouldn't really mind if it is like 30% of the patients say, no, I don't want these doctors. I think that's logic, foreign doctor. But the surprise is none. No patient said, I don't want you to examine me. It's strange, right?
Hello, and thank you for tuning in. If you're enjoying the show, subscribing is the best way to support us. It helps us grow and bring you new stories from life in Japan. All right, let's jump in. Welcome to Unpacking Japan. I'm Toby, and I have the pleasure to welcome Dr. Osama Ibrahim. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, Toby, for inviting me.
You're an ophthalmologist here in Japan. You are affiliated with Keio University and currently working at the Ishikawa General Hospital.
Yes.
Also conducting research on some pretty advanced eye surgeries. So I think that we will have a lot of interesting topics to talk about, especially about what it was like for you to come from Egypt, where you're from, and become a licensed medical doctor in Japan. So let's go back to the beginning. And growing up in Egypt, did you have any first contacts to Japan? Did you have any interest in Japan already when you were younger?
Yes, of course. When I was in Egypt, actually, since my childhood, I was playing karate, actually.
Okay.
I was playing karate, not really a regular person, like during the summer holidays only. But since then, I was like the coach. He was training us on the movements and telling us, ich, ni, san, shi, and move your legs like this. This is mawashigiri. Of course, I didn't understand any of that. I was like, when he said mawashigiri, I move my legs like that. Mm-hmm. I didn't know the meaning of that. But of course, I like karate. In the Middle East in general, we like Japan so much. We think of Japan as planet Japan. It's totally different. We call it planet Japan. Everything is different, and they even have unrealistic, great image about it in some parts. Like my friends think that I'm riding a flying board to the work, and I saw it on the YouTube. Send me one. Unfortunately, we don't do that. But this is to give you an image how they have very good image about Japan. The respectful people, the hardworking. The Japanese products are always live longer, high quality. So of course, I was always looking forward to come to Japan one day, but I didn't have a chance. Of course, I wanted to. But the first chance came when I was a medical student. I was a member of IFMSA, International Federation for Medical Student Association. This is an association to collect and gather medical students from all over the world and have a meeting, exchange, and something like that. My trip was to Italy. I went to Italy, and there was a collection of 100 medical students from 26 countries in the same place.
Wow.
We used it in the morning to go to have lectures, and then after that, maybe attend some surgeries. And then at night, we have parties for every nation. If there's a Spanish party, we have Spanish food, Spanish drinks, and Spanish dance and folklore, something like that. There were American, Germans, European, Asians, Arabians, and then Japanese, of course. So at that, I was somehow interested. That's where I met my wife, actually. She is Japanese, and she is a medical student at that time. And then we were thinking like, okay, let's go to another country where we can practice medicine in English because we can speak English. Mm-hmm. But then she said, why don't you come to Japan? Because Japan, she has a license, and then if I take the license, things will be much easier.
But that's then a big question, right? The license in Japan. At that time, you may not have known too much about it, but it ended up being a quite long journey for you to kind of acquire this.
Yes.
Did you realize at the time, like moving to Japan, how much of a challenge it would be to actually be able to practice medicine?
No, but this is like being ignorant. It sometimes helps because if you like know how much energy and how much time it will take, you might think twice. But at that time, I also made like kind of a field study by myself. Mm-hmm. I will try to come to Japan for 2 weeks, see the country, see the place. I always wanted to come. If I can survive here or not, I will just have an image first. So I came and I found the place really beautiful, the nature, the people, and the culture itself is very rich. But since I landed, that was like 20 years ago, and now you can see English in the streets more now.
Mm-hmm.
But 20 years ago, there was no English and then my first landing was in Osaka, actually.
Oh.
Yes, because she's Osaka person.
Okay.
And I landed in Kansai at that time, I think. And then not many English everywhere. So I was like, oh, it's a nice country. If I can speak Japanese, it will be okay. If I can, this will be a total loss for me. But then, okay, I planned to come to Japan, and I said to myself, okay, I'll give it a try. Of course, as a doctor, just coming to Japan, studying Japanese won't be like good for my career. I can't add that. So I started by being a PhD student. I said to myself, I will join PhD course in Japan. If I pass the highest Japanese medical level during the PhD course, then I can continue. If I can't, maybe it's better to try somewhere else.
So what brought you to Japan in the end is an encounter with your now wife back in
Yes.
Italy. You came for a short trip to kind of get a sense for if you'd like it, and then you decide, I will give it a try. What was it like for you when you actually kind of came and moved here for your PhD studies? You're from Egypt and Japan have very different cultures. What was the culture shock like for you?
Yes, I mean, the media itself gave us always false image about other countries because that's the interesting part. For us, even the media showed us always Japanese wear kimono at that time, you know, and the red kasa, the red umbrella.
Red umbrellas, yeah.
Yes. So when I landed at the first thing that where's kimono? No one is wearing kimono. I have been deceived. And then, of course, I asked it later, and they also think that I was learning in a university with a camel park, and we are studying in a tent or something like that. That's image of Egypt is pyramid surrounded by desert, and then for us Japanese is people polite wearing Sony Walkman and also like walking in kimono. That's for the appearance part, but other than this, I was very impressed by the organized system, the cleanness of the city, the perfectionist tendency in anything, from smallest job to the sophisticated jobs, and the rules, the respect of the rules, and very organized. I kind of liked that very much, and I thought this is very comfortable for me. I like that environment. This way, I can do my best in my work. I don't have really to be bothered by other stuff not already done well. So that was really a good impression for me when I came. And the nature is so amazing. You know, it's different from Egypt. You know, we have lots of desert, we have monuments, pharaonic monuments, we have the Nile, but we don't have all that green. We don't have such amount of mountains and also the Fujisan or something like that. So it's a different culture, and then it's an endless journey. So that's always fun.
You decided to pursue PhD studies first. So
Right.
I imagine the big difference was probably in how they approach medical studies here to how you were used to study medicine back in Egypt. What were some of these differences you noticed when you started your course, which was, I think, at Tokyo University?
At first, I joined K University.
K
University, yes. I joined K University because the professor was famous, and that's also a very important point I want to say to people who are interested in studying in Japan. It's usually who you are going to work with more than which university you are going to go to.
Interesting.
That's a very important point, maybe different from other parts of the world, because the professor I joined, I first asked who I should follow. Because you can go to a very famous university, but the professors there maybe not even speaking English, maybe not interested in having foreign students, maybe not interested in that kind of international activities. But I joined a professor who had like international team. He speaks English very well. He is international activities. So he has very good environment for that. And even he allocated me to a supervisor who is another foreigner. So I didn't have language barrier with my supervisor or the lab team at the beginning. So this is very important point. So, and regarding research, in Egypt, we focus mainly on the clinical research. We have large number of patients, we have large number of surgeries, but in Japan, they also put large attention to basic research. They like animal studies, they like laboratory studies, because they want also to invent and find new treatments, find some basic research activities. So that usually requires better labs and better funding that we don't have in Egypt sometimes. So that's a chance for people interested in basic research. Even some researchers here, they proudly say, I don't do clinical work, I do only basic
Okay.
research.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's, yes, a different part. And here, teamwork is really good, and the system is very well established. In some countries, researcher has to take all the burden of publishing, funding, and collecting all the data himself, and sometimes even face trouble with the supervisor. The supervisor doesn't want him to pass, to overuse
Wow.
him during the course, make it longer, because as long as you're engaged in the course, you are like, uh, how can I say, under his control.
So like a permanent assistant that is maybe convenient for them, but
Exactly.
is preventing you from reaching your kind of
Right.
personal
He
goals.
can like even if you done everything well, it's not guaranteed that you will pass from the first time the PhD course. Unlike here, there are rules applied, and if you publish this paper with this impact factor, you are eligible for graduation. And in the rule in KO was even harder than I expected. And it was like you have to publish 3 papers with impact factor more than 5. In our field at that time was high.
What is an impact factor?
Impact factor is showing you the value of the journal. It's reflecting how citations this journal has, how important this journal is.
So that means you have to get your paper published in a place that is categorized as like this is a
High.
famous and well-regarded publication.
Exactly.
Okay.
People read it, people respect it, people reference to it, and that's for a 4-year course. Later on, I knew that if I publish more than 3 papers with more than double the impact factor, the 10, I can graduate in 3 years, which is what I did, which was the first time anyone does in that
Wow.
PhD course. Because later on, found that in other universities, even Tokyo University, if you publish only 1 paper, that's enough. And they are not really strict about that. But how can I say, lucky. I call it lucky that my professors set this high target. So this is train you for harder missions. So if you are trained for higher targets, now others looks easier for me.
You mentioned how important a professor is, and that
Yes.
you found this professor that has international experience and an international team. How did you find such a professor? How do you kind of get him to become your thesis and PhD supervisor when you're not in Japan?
I asked many Japanese doctors around because they know more than anyone else. And also, if you are outside and you don't have Japanese doctor around you, you can just, if you're at an international conference and you find the professor there, the Japanese professor, you can just talk to him, or even another researcher also working with him, just talk, I'm interested, I want to visit. And visiting for 2 weeks and maybe 1 year as a researcher is a very good for foreigners. I think they will enjoy it so much. So I asked people, and they said his name was Professor Tsubota, Kazo Tsubota. And then I couldn't contact him directly, so I contacted his assistant, Dr. Murat Dogoro, and he's my mentor at that time. He helped me so much, and he's Turkish, by the way, and he speaks English and Japanese at the same time. So he was my Rosetta Stone. He could help me in everything. And then he replied to me at the beginning. We couldn't find, like, even if there's a good intention, maybe we can't find a slot for that at that time, but they made it work for me. So I accepted at the beginning that I come as a researcher, and then from the next year I start the PhD program. So yes, I think you can communicate through emails now, there is LinkedIn, there are conferences you can talk to, and actually Japan is welcoming very much researchers. If you want to research in Japan, they are happy. They want more researchers. There are a fewer number of doctors now are doing research because the clinical work is heavy. So if you can speak Japanese a little bit, they will be very happy. I talked to many doctors about that. And they are like, even lab creator, the lab main responsible person, they want people, but if they come and they speak only English, we are going to suffer. That's how they think.
So the language barrier, that's a big point. You
Yes.
didn't speak Japanese when you came, but
Yes.
now you speak very comfortably because it ended up being a requirement. But how did you approach this? Because I imagine you enter your PhD studies. Doing PhD work is a lot
Right,
of
right.
research that you need to do, but at the same time, you need to reach a high level of Japanese fluency
Exactly.
before you finish. What was your method or your approach to kind of going through this?
Well, everything was like being a PhD student in this intensive course is like heavy duty in itself and can take all your day. But my main target from the beginning is to take the medical license. So I've been doing the heavy duties, clinical and basic research, but I took a challenge with myself. I will study Japanese every day, 2 hours. And every day means every day. If I'm traveling, if I'm sick, if I'm doing presentation in another country, if it is hot, cold, hard time, 2 hours every day, which is really very important thing because there is plus alpha come with that. If you study today and sleep tomorrow and don't skip one day and then don't continue, it's not as productive or effective like if you study every day. I feel that when I study every day, it's 1 + 1 = 3, not 2. So that was very effective. I tried at the beginning by myself, but of course I thought maybe a school is a better selection. So I went to a night after work school. Well, where everyone there was like learning funny Japanese. They want to communicate. They want to enjoy Japanese. It's good for learning how to communicate, but if you set a high target of having medical license, you need a tougher one and
You need
more
very advanced Japanese
very
and
advanced.
very specific vocabulary too.
Yes, yeah, military grade school, you know. So I couldn't continue with this school. I tried like to allocate just one man-to-man. This course was a little bit better, but even the cost is going to increase, and you're a PhD student and you don't have financial support. I get scholarships from the university and other areas, but I had to work also that to afford my salary. But so that was not a good option. So I found that there are volunteers in the city hall. There are city hall over 60 years old people. They are ready to volunteer. They have time. I went there, and there I met my mentor, a very nice lady called Yoneda-san. Yoneda-san was 68 years old at that time, and she started learning English at the age of 60.
Wow.
And she's a very impressive lady. Like she has 2 kids. They went to Kyoto University and Tokyo University. So she's a very good mother. And she understood my target, and she said, we can study here, but this is not as productive. So we should live here and go study somewhere else. And then we started meeting at family restaurants and McDonald's sometimes. And she was really suffering about that. But she doesn't like this environment, but that's how we can meet. And then we improved and we started to work online. She bought personal computer for the first time, and she's trying to open it. And how can I open this computer? She's asking from that beginning about that. I'm really in debt for her forever, you know, and she was really helpful. And we didn't only learn Japanese, she was teaching me the culture. Because in Japan, language only is not enough. You need to read between the lines. You also maybe experienced that in Japan, you know. You have to read the air.
Read
you
the
know?
air, yes.
Yeah. In other language, it's like read the room, you know. So similar like that, we were reading something called Tensei Jingu. It's online, like very sophisticated, like kind of poem sometimes, but it's wisdom, quotes, something about the culture in Japan. We then shifted to reading the medical articles because that's where it is useful for me. And gradually I started to learn with her, and she tell me what book to read. And yeah, she helped me until I got, that was the most helpful actually for me in the Japanese course.
A big commitment, a lot of dedication, and a lovely lady that kind of helped you through this. So for 3 years, you are studying Japanese intensively and doing your research.
Right.
You get your PhD, but that was not your goal. You didn't want to become a researcher. You wanted to get your medical license.
Right.
And so that was just the first step.
Right.
What is required in Japan to get the medical license? Can you, if you have a medical license from another country, transfer it, or do you need to pass a specific test in Japan to be a licensed doctor here?
It's actually a very long process and somehow case by case study. Uh, some countries are, it varies depend on the country. That's number one. And to get an appointment with the Koseiro Dosho, the Ministry of Work and Welfare, you need to pass the highest Japanese level. Number one.
So the language. The
Language.
JLPT N1.
Yes, now it's called N1, and if you don't have it, they don't even give you an appointment.
Okay.
So it's like, because N1 is like 1/3 of what you are going to need from now on. Of course, I know other tests also looks hard for foreigners, but N1 is a basic requirement to start talking about that. Then when you have an interview, they ask you to collect lots of documents about your college, about your working hours, study hours, and also what did you, if you worked as a resident there too. And it is so meticulous. They ask you questions that you never imagined, like how many meters is this hospital you worked in and its affiliated hospitals, how many beds inside, how many residents, nurses, staff there, and of course, what did you study? You have to write it, translate it into Japanese, and this only took 1.5 years for me preparation.
So not only about your medical knowledge, but just like, do you know the entire environment that you're in, the people around you, what they do, and how the system operates?
Right. What did you do? And you have to mention everything. If it is university hospital, all affiliated hospitals, how many staff, how many meters, and a key point for that is they are very keen about the work study hours and how many years is a medical health medical university, because in some countries it's only 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was 6 years, which is similar to the Japanese system. And if you are 5 years and you don't have enough number of hours, they will give you another course, which is you'll be examined, something called Yobishiken. This will include the first 3 years of medical knowledge, which is really hard because it's for us, it's anatomy, histology, physiology, very basic things, lots of kanji, lots of different kanjis, which is like hell. And then another course, if you have the 6 years and you are already fulfilled the needed study hours, you will go to Mogishiken. There will be a Mogishiken and kind of practical examination, and then you will be eligible for the Ishikokashiken, the real license examination. So in a summary, like it's either you examined everything in the medical school from the beginning or just half of it.
And then the routes kind of change, but they get back to the end.
Yes.
So how long was the whole process for you to get the medical license?
I think it took 6 to 7 years, I think. Yes.
6 to 7 years.
Yes, 1.5 years just paper preparation. I'm going between Egypt and Japan, and no, this is not enough. I have to check on this. And then after in the interview, when they said, okay, papers are enough, now after 2 weeks, you are eligible for this Mogishiken. It's OSCE, kind of clinical scan test. You will be examined inside the ministry, surveyed by cameras, and 3 professors sit in front of you, and they will give you a fake patient.
Okay.
It's not real one. And okay, they give you like a chart, medical chart in Japanese, read it, and then ask you to examine the patient. And then after that, you write your report in Japanese about that. So here comes the Japanese part in that. So you're allowed to examine the patient now. So they not only watch your skills in examination, but your manners with the patient.
So the patient is fake, but it's a person that is playing the role of the patient that you can ask questions to,
right,
that will kind of give you some answers.
Right. But somehow it's like she's a 45 years old lady, and she's complaining of stomach pain. And there are some medical tricks here that, of course, maybe you want to have an x-ray for her, but if she's a lady, you have to ask, even if she's 45 years old, you have to ask, there is a chance of pregnancy? you might be pregnant, because this X-ray might affect the kid and the baby, of course. And then some techniques. So when you ask her to sit down on bed, and you have to warm your hand before touching the patient. I mean, in my area, they won't really pay attention for that, but you have to warm your hands because you're touching the patient. And then ask the patient, can I touch here? Can I touch there? And you do your examination. And for a second, I finished, and I was in a hurry to write my report. But I noticed that I didn't cover the patient again. And she was waiting for that. So,
wow.
So see the tricks. This is all counted. Do you care about the patient, or you're just doing your job and they are examining you in your most intense and stressed moment? So then I returned. And then she was like, okay. She was waiting for this, you know. So when they examine you, they won't be examining your knowledge only, they will be examining your manners with the patient. There are books for that, but you know, a person with previous experience might help you more about that, actually. So when I passed this examination, finally you are eligible for being a candidate for the real medical license exam.
So that was just a test for a test, and then you get the real one.
Right.
Do you remember the day you passed the real exam and kind of?
Yes, I passed because first I entered that exam, and after the Mogishkan, after this practical one, they told me you're eligible after 2 weeks for the national exam. Of course, there is no time to be preparing for for 2 weeks.
A very intense fake test, and 2 weeks later you have to do the real one.
Because it's only once a year. So in my case, I like to join this as a trial. I call it test vaccine. I'm going to take it just to feel the environment for that. I remember very much the first time I entered that exam because, okay, I will try. And it was really, really hard for me. I was like, I felt that I'm running in the desert for 1 hour and my throat, I can't breathe. It's so, all my adrenaline in my body come up, but I can't go. In the middle of the exam, I just stopped, and I was like, oh, look at this kanji. This is really amazing. Oh, this disease is made of 15 kanji. I was like counting, you know. I forgot everything about the exam. Of course, no way to pass this exam. But look at this kanji. This is amazing. 15. I was starting counting the kanji. So this was a good experience. I take it, as I said, as a vaccine for me. I prepared for that. And when I passed, I didn't believe at the first time. Because we go to there is a hole and your number is there. I checked, then I called 2 or 3 friends, and this is my number. I had them confirm it for me. Then I was very happy so I got to tell my family, and you know, that feeling after a very long time of working hard for it, it's real happiness. You know, when you do regular things, you get regular happiness. When you do something really hard, if you fail, you're really sad, but if you succeed, you're really happy. So I could experience different type of happiness at that moment, yes.
You were the first doctor from Egypt to pass the license, and maybe even the first, I think, from the whole kind of Arab world?
Maybe, yes, in the Middle East, yes, that was true. I tried to ask the ministry if there is data or not, but they said, we can't tell you that. So I tried to find others, but currently, now I hear that there is another doctor after me. She from Syria. She started and she could pass. But I'm glad that others could already join this. But still, we are like overall maybe 2 in the whole Japan.
And then you can finally practice medicine. So you actually specialize in ophthalmology, so research and study and care for the eyes.
Right.
Is it easy to find a position after you have the license? Do you kind of go to a hospital, or are the hospitals kind of actively looking for new doctors?
Yes, they are looking, but the system itself is different from other countries. Like, I thought I will pass, then I search, but they already apply before the results. So in my case, I didn't know if I would pass or not, but I put just 2 places, 2 universities, and okay, let's see if I pass or not. So I applied, and my first required, the one I wanted first didn't happen, but the second one already being accepted. I think there is a high chance of like being accepted to many hospitals in Japan at that stage. They need more doctors, and there are many hospitals now with more patients. So I don't think you will be having trouble in finding a hospital after that.
Once you find a hospital
Yes.
and you actually start working with patients, I
Right.
imagine some of the patients might be quite surprised at first to see a foreign doctor. It's very
Right.
rare here. Have you had that experience? How do you approach this, and what are the kind of questions you get?
Well, I was really, many people already told me, even if you pass, you won't be able to work. Even if you work, you won't be, the patients won't accept you, they will reject you, something like that. But I thought, okay, I will try, I will see how it is. And I was at the beginning, I wouldn't really mind if there's like 30% of the patients say, no, I don't want these doctors. I think that's logic, foreign doctor. But the surprise is none. No patient said, I don't want you to examine me.
That's awesome.
It's strange, right? That's to tell you, you have to try and then you find it yourself. The part of it, I found that the Japanese people are welcoming. They are testing your skill and personality. I mean, doctor is not only knowledge, it's also personality, how you treat the patient. The patient-doctor relationship is very important. The patient, when you see how you touch him, when you see how you are dealing with him, and it's not only words, it's the tone of the word and what kind of word you choose to communicate with him, and the small gestures about how you bow and how you talk with them and how you explain to them. In fact, some patients don't get what they want from the doctors, the Japanese doctors even. Like they want more explanation about the case. They are worried a little bit. So if I sometimes explain, they ask me to follow them, not that doctor.
I've had that experience myself in
Yes.
Japan. Luckily, I haven't had to go to too many doctors, but
Right.
I noticed they don't really ask too many questions, or at least in my cases. Like
Right.
I would go and say, "Oh, I have pain here, or I feel uncomfortable here," and I would explain my symptoms or what I thought were my symptoms, and they would say, "Okay, well, you can try this." And that's it. You're not gonna check. You're not gonna ask me more questions. And then, as a patient, it makes you feel a bit like, maybe the doctor is right. Maybe it's nothing, but also, can I have some more context and understanding of what's
Right.
going on?
And part of it, maybe the doctor, you were talking to him in English?
In Japanese.
In Japanese, okay. It depends really on the doctor himself. Some doctors, they don't want to talk much with the patients.
Mhm.
Maybe because he has to see 100 patients a day. That's one case. Maybe he doesn't really talk too much. And it tendency, like the more you go away from the city, the doctors speak less because people don't want more. It's just,
Interesting.
yes, in the city, more sophisticated. Patients have more knowledge. The doctor has to talk more. I had this experience myself. I worked in many places in Tokyo University, in Keio University, in rural areas, and it's different. The patients are different. The doctors are different, but also the Japanese patient and foreign patients are different. Their
Mhm.
expectations from the doctors are different. Oh, I noticed that, for example, I treat some Egyptian people, some Arabian people, and some foreign people as well. And medicine out, like maybe in Germany, and people go to the hospital when it is 40 degrees. That's fever. Maybe in Japan, people go just mild fever.
37.5.
Yes, that's like that. So, and maybe the foreign person, when he come to the hospital, he come and I want a kind of treatment that finish this problem in no time. I want the quickest, the most effective treatment immediately. But the Japanese patient and the Japanese system here start from the weakest drug. Like we give you the weakest one, minimum side effect. See if it works, okay. If it doesn't work, we will give you the stronger one. So this is how it's working. Abroad, the doctor will give you the stronger one from the beginning. So patients feel that, oh, I just went to the doctor, he gave me a drug, I'm relieved after 3 days, but the Japanese one doesn't work. I have to go again, and this is not working.
That's quite interesting because
Yes.
if the lower dose medicine works, that's great because fewer side effects on the
Right,
body and less stress on the body.
Right.
But if it doesn't work, it just ends up prolonging the pain or the discomfort or whatever
Right.
the patient has. Is there a sort of general guideline from, I don't know, the Ministry of Health in Japan that says this should be the procedure for treating patients?
Yes. We have guidelines for many things already, yes. And we have to move step by step. And the more severe the disease is, the more careful this guideline is. Because also in Japan, in the past, they had used steroids intensively. So lots of steroid problems happening. So sometimes if you go to a doctor and he knows if he give you some steroid tablets or injection for that, you will be very happy. But he doesn't want these side effects to happen. So because patients later on will tell him, why did you do this side effect to me? And I just wanted to be treated. So that's why moving through the guideline and from minimum to maximum, I know that, and somehow I am playing case by case. I do it case by case. Or for this patient, I know this comes with experience, and of course you are following the guideline, but you know that this case with this severity with this patient, this drug is the best. So I can differentiate between that. So that's how foreigner, when they come to be examined by me, they want to come again. When they ask me, when are you coming? And then the communication is easier. I know somehow what they want. You want to hear this. You want to know why this is happening. Will it happen again in the future? And give me some guidelines about avoiding it again. Maybe some Japanese patients just tell me, give me the drug. I will just go. And some want more explanation. So you have to adapt to the patient, yes.
How is the system set up in a way that you are able to kind of deal and treat all the patients? What I mean is, if I compare to France, for example, if I want an appointment with my ophthalmologist, I need to book 6 to 8 months in advance, and some of them may not even accept new patients simply because they already have too many existing and they don't have the capacity for it. But in Japan, I feel that there are so many small specialized clinics that you can always go see a specialist on very short notice for whatever you may need.
Actually, the healthcare system here is designed mainly for the patient. It's called the patient-oriented medicine. The patient is the core of the medical system, and okakusama, in
we are
the Japanese
kind of customers.
Yes, not only customer, the okakusama, the customer who is receiving the high service. And actually, the service here is really good for the patient because, as you said, you can't go easily like this to the doctor in France. But here, you can go to many clinics, open all the time, and even you can call an ambulance even for a small issue to come to the hospital, which is a big problem actually in the healthcare service because ambulances are used for minor issues. So now we don't have ambulances for the major issues.
I think during COVID, when a lot of ambulances were in use, I read a number, and I may be completely wrong here, but in Tokyo, there are something like 843 ambulance cars available, which seemed like not such a big number for actual cars, but my number here may be wrong. But the average time for them to come in nationwide is like 8.3 minutes, I think.
It's very fast, and they really work hard, and you see them like working all the time. But someone had itchy eyes at the middle of midnight, and
they call an ambulance.
They call an ambulance because it's free. And I was surprised. I was like, if you call it in other countries, you will pay a lot actually, and that's why you avoid going to the hospital somehow. But medicine here is so convenient for patients. So some people use an ambulance like a taxi, and instead of paying for a taxi, I was busy in the morning, I will call at night. There is someone in the hospital can go at any time. This is like a side effect of like misuse of the system, but many people working hard come after work with a big issue, should have early intervention like glaucoma attack, and they kept working hard all the day. Different kind of people, different way of using the medical health system, but overall the medical health system here is very good for the patient. The patient is getting the same service. I was working in Keio University, and Prime Minister Shinzo Abe come to our hospital, and he's getting the same treatment of the Seikatsu Hogo for the patient who has no money at all. Same tools, same doctors, same hospital. I was also in Tokyo University. The emperor came to our hospital to be treated, but anyone with any financial level can come and get the same treatment. This is really unique for Japan. You can't do that.
Yes,
imagine Trump, you are going to Trump hospital. That's totally different. Same treatment, and treatment is very cheap here. Only Japanese people living abroad knows that, because to do just a minor issue, you have to pay $300, $500. But here you pay 2,000 yen or 3,000 yen. That's nothing for them.
Everyone gets the same treatment in the same
Right.
in the system. You also mentioned the same tools.
Right.
What is it like for you as an ophthalmologist? Are you getting to work with some of the latest technology? How is Japan kind of in this like medical technological field?
Actually, Japan really likes the new technology, the innovative things. They are using more robots now, and they are trying to use robots inside the hospital. In case they're using mobile chairs to transport patients automatically, robots. And at Tokyo University, I saw them, like the surgical tools were transferred and being autoclaved by robots as well. And in the medical and the ophthalmology field, it depends on machines and the new technology so much. So we have continuous update and moving in that. The hot topics now in our field is the AI. We are using AI for diagnosis and treatment, no, maybe early diagnosis and screening of retina and corneal diseases. Before, it was used for the retinal diseases such as diabetic patients or hypertensive patients. You just send a picture to the software and it diagnoses if this has diabetic retinopathy or not, and can tell if you need intervention or not. Now in the cornea as well, we are doing research on that in our institution. You can diagnose this kind of disease. Is it infection by bacterial or by viral or by acanthamoeba? And we differentiate that. This helps so much if you're in a rural area, and all you need is to take a picture of the eye and send it to the hospital.
Wow.
You know, you don't have to have a doctor there. We have shortage of doctor, and it's a remote island sometimes far from Tokyo. Just take a picture of the eye and send it to the doctor. Or even we are planning to make it in an application, so you add it to the application and it can tell you, oh, this is bacteria. The interesting about that, it's the diagnostic accuracy is similar to specialist in the cornea. It can even surpass just a new resident or something like that.
Wow.
Not all diseases, in some very hard ones, still it is challenging for it, but in majority, the application can diagnose, which is big lead, and in the future, we will be using this.
I recently had the opportunity to attend an event which was a kind of a Japan and Africa startup summit, and African startups were pitching to Japanese investors.
Right.
And there was one startup from Egypt that was actually doing exactly this, which was setting up a system where patients could just kind of get their x-rays or their scans at the local clinic and send it to like a sort of centralized system where doctors that wouldn't have the time to travel back and forth could kind of look and make the diagnosis. In a place like Japan, I guess this could be also then very useful, because a lot of the kind of leading technologies and doctors are concentrated in cities, and the rural side is losing out on a lot.
Yeah, you know the situation very well, because most of the doctors like to be in the city, and the rural area is not having many doctors. So yes, even internal medicine doctor can take this picture, and maybe because she's following with him diabetes or hypertension, even from the picture, he can just take a picture and tell her about her retinal condition. Maybe you don't even ophthalmologist at that setting. So AI will help in diagnosis, and if she need further intervention, he can send it to a specialist or even to a specialized hospital for treatment. That's one thing, AI we are talking about. And more interestingly, we now have cell transplantation. We are doing cell-based transplantation therapy. In the field, I'm specialist in corneal transplantation.
Okay.
Our hospital is doing like the largest number of corneal transplantation in Japan, and people come from Hokkaido, from all prefectures to our hospital to be treated. And corneal transplantation itself is divided into many categories. Like sometimes we transplant the whole cornea, sometimes only part of the cornea.
So the cornea is the layer that's on the outside of the eye?
Yes,
okay.
The one that you see color because this is the reflection of the iris, the pigmented part. But above it, there is some curved tissue which is transparent. You can think of it like the first surface of the lens. So it should be transparent, otherwise you can't see, of course, you know. So this cornea, in some cases, due to infection, due to some diseases, loses its transparency and become white, and sometimes have a scar. So if it is a really big scar and we can't fix it, we have to transplant the whole cornea at that part. But if it is like a disease called bullous keratopathy, it's a disease when the cornea loses its transparency by the function of the endothelial cells. We can say the cornea is like it's 5 layers, but we can say it's 3 layers: the outside layer, the middle layer, and the inner layer. Inner layer is really important. It has a limited number of cells, and if it loses its function by any disease or any trauma, the function of it is to keep this cornea transparent. So it's usually pumping out the water out of this transparent tissue, and it has no blood vessels. So these cells are like the life for the cornea. So if it's not working, cornea loses its transparency and they become whitish. So for the cells, so far we used to take off these damaged cells and put another tissue inside the cornea, transplant a part of the healthy cornea donor inside and put it to the diseased cornea. This is called endothelial cell transplantation. But now we are working on that. We just add new cells, just inject new cells. You know, we take a cornea from a healthy donor, cultivate it, and make lots of cells. And instead of needing a donor cornea for each patient, no, now we take one cornea from one patient, from one donor, and cultivate it, have 1,000 corneas ready for 1,000 patients.
Wow.
So this is not going only to help the patients, but there are waiting list of patients waiting for this disease. They all suffering for that time. And then when we inject the cell inside, it is less invasive, takes less time, and the recovery is faster, and the patients are happier. So this is really hot topic now.
That sounds like very exciting research for you as an ophthalmologist. To
Yeah.
someone who is kind of not familiar with this, the idea of like cutting open the eye and so on seems like a very scary endeavor. But you were telling me before we started that it's actually becoming very common, and the success rate is extremely high for these surgeries.
Yes, we started the clinical trials, and we are doing now on patients, and the result will be published soon. I'll be presenting it in Korea next year in February. So I think this is actually unique for Japan. Some other countries try to do that. In the US, they are trying, but Japan is leading in this. So in the future, I want to take this. So far, it is only applied in Japan. If you want to receive this treatment, you have to come to Japan. But in the future, I want to be like having it in the Middle East and maybe other countries if they want. We are happy to share it and have more trials on it. So it will even become better by time. And that's all for the end. This will help more people around the world waiting for this treatment.
Right now, this is something you just mentioned. People could only get in Japan when
Right.
it finishes going through its trial period. It brings up a question about like medical tourism. I know there are
Yes.
some destinations in the world that are very popular to go to for certain kind of surgeries. Korea comes to mind for a lot of plastic surgery, but also I know that doing LASIK eye surgery is common in Korea. How is Japan in that field? Is this something the medical system is trying to promote? Like, oh, come get first like world-class treatment in Japan? Or are they more like, okay, we developed this treatment, we want to share it, but people shouldn't come necessarily to get treatment to Japan?
Actually, in Japan, there are trials to do that, and most of it they are thinking about people from China or from Asia because it's close to Japan, and it's applied in some institutes. I had communication with some parts. They do some in Narita, and so the patient come and have like a hotel and had the surgery or the whatever he is going to receive as a treatment here. Some problems. Of course, the patient enjoy Japan, enjoy the culture, enjoy the food, but the language is always a problem, and that's why they usually have someone to translate all the time, and that is a handicap we are trying to overcome. Of course, if you have foreign doctors, that is really happy for the
Yeah.
patient himself. He can communicate, and then the doctor is like a link between Japan and the patient. I would like maybe in the future. I was talking to some people from the UAE because now they are having less visa regulation between Japan and the Middle East, and they are like thinking about coming here. The problem is the distance. That's number one. The language. So we are trying to easing these problems, and having more skilled medical staff will definitely help. In Narita now, there are some universities, only one university actually training medical students all in English, actually.
Okay.
So that's in Japan, they usually train in Japanese, but the ones university in Narita, I'm in contact with them as well. They are trying to teach everything in English.
But they will still need to pass the medical license test in Japanese in the end.
Yes, so I'm challenging you.
Challenging.
To be, I think maybe in the future, if they can have an English version, that would be great, because Japan is now receiving larger number of overseas visitors, and also the number of foreigners living in Japan is increasing. So I think we need to be more open about that. We have to have more medical staff who are like capable of having the Japanese and English and other languages as well. In my practice, I sometimes encounter Chinese, some people from Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, Middle East. I can speak Arabic as well, so they are very happy they come. But some patients from China, I operated on them, so I had to remember some Chinese words just to communicate during the surgery. But now Chinese is getting popular. There is a demand for Chinese, and yes, I think. For other cases, we use the mobile, the translation devices as well.
Quite tricky, right? Because you're talking about medical treatment, surgery sometimes. You don't want to miscommunicate something.
Exactly. And even it's taking longer time. Imagine every time we have to communicate during the clinic, sometimes if I have to spend 1 hour with the patient about the surgery, it would be 2 hours. And I'm not sure if the patient is really have a knowledge about that or not yet.
What are the kind of common treatments you have to provide, or the common issues you see here in Japan when it comes to eyes?
I think in Japan, it's like in the other developed countries, the diseases that takes the upper hand are usually glaucoma, age-related macular degeneration, and also diabetes because of the change of the lifestyle, diabetic retinopathy. And it's different a bit from, for example, in Egypt, we have also similar diseases, but the prevalence is different. And there are diseases in Egypt related to like refractive errors in kids. In Japan, they do regular screening at the age of 3, so that you can discover early this patient have myopia or hypermetropia, treated properly by glasses. But not in everywhere in Egypt. Sometimes if the patient doesn't have early screening, maybe they have poor vision and they are not treated properly at early stage. They might have poor vision when they are older. And also conjunctival infections, maybe in the rural areas. This is like in Japan, they do more screening, more hygiene. So that's avoiding, different disease in some other areas. Yes.
One of the things that I found amazing moving to Japan is that as a student or as an employee of a company, you have a yearly medical checkup that will check like all these basic things, such as quick blood work and like hearing check and a quick talk with a doctor, but also eyesight and a few more. So every year you have this check, and you kind of can see if something goes off track, and that kind of probably helps a lot of prevention.
Prevention is better than treatment, of course. If you can find it earlier, you can deal with it earlier. The cost of dealing with it is not as expensive if you find it in a later stage. And Japan is putting too much energy and effort for that. And it is working, because definitely if you find it at a later stage and this person already cannot be treated, or this eye, if it is one eye, it's okay. But if this patient can't see with both eyes, now he is dependent. He needs another person to live with. He cannot be productive in the society. So yes, the preventive measures are worthy every penny you spend on it, I think so.
When it comes to actual treatments,
Right.
they always need to be approved by the governing body. We saw the big conversation around that topic also during COVID when the vaccines came out and they needed to be approved. And I think in Japan there was this big conversation about the vaccines need to be tested within Japan first. And it's not possible to just accept that another country has approved it. We need to do our own checks here.
Yes.
What are the processes like if you, for example, conduct research or find a new treatment or develop a new medicine, although developing new medicine, I guess, is a lot in the pharmaceutical business. What do you need to go through for it to be approved and to be used as you are now with this new cell-based treatment?
Actually, it's a very long process, not only in Japan, in the US as well. I attended some workshops in the US, and they were complaining that one drug might take 10 years to produce. But in Japan, they want a higher level of safety, and they want to check several times to do it. So they end up taking like 15 years of time. So that's why Japan sometimes lag behind, even if they have new ideas. They take more time to perfectionize it and put it to the world. There are organizations in Japan called the PMDA, so it's responsible about approving the drugs and treatments, and you have to go phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and then phase 4. In general, they want more safety than other countries, and it's other countries could be more flexible about the side effects. It's okay, it will help 1,000. Maybe 20 will suffer, but 1,000 would be okay. But Japan doesn't want 20 to suffer.
They want 0.
They target 0, but I don't know, maybe 1. What shall we do about this one? Something like that. Of course, they have to cope with that. So they are doing their best. When they focus their effort, just like this time in our cell therapy, they put too much effort on that. They make it like a big project. That's why they are leading. They allocate all the resources for that. That's how they can be faster than other areas as well. They do lots of cooperation. We are not. This cell therapy originated from Kyoto University, Kyoto Prefectural University, Dr. Shigeru Kinoshita and his team. They started it, and they are doing collaboration all over Japan, and our institute is one of them. So they work on all over the country as one team. When they do this, it's faster and they can have better results. And personally, I believe the Japanese product, I think it's like more effective, and I can feel more safe with it more than like Western product.
So if we go to a regular drugstore and we find some medicine that is up for sale, it has gone through all of those processes, and we can kind of trust it, maybe that it's
but
aimed for 0 side effects.
Yes, there is no 0 side effect, but minimum, and it is safety for them is really a big issue. And the drugs you can get in the medical stores are not as effective as the one we prescribe. That's another difference also between Egypt and here. In Egypt, you can go by yourself, ask the pharmacist, give me this injection, I want this drug, and he can just give it to you without prescription.
No, everything, or
I think some drugs are like on a table. Like you can't, of course, if it is like related to addiction or has some hypnotic effects or like could be addictive. These are listed and they are not allowed. But if you want steroid injection, you can get it
over the counter.
Wow. Yes, over the counter. You want some heart drug, you can get it. High blood pressure drug, you can get it. In Japan, even common cold, maybe some common cold medications you can get over the counter, but others you have to get with prescription. That's how strict it is here. Safety first, it's like key word here.
You've been on this journey for a while now. Kind of started from that trip to Italy. And now you're practicing in Japan. A lot of people have told you, oh, you probably can't do this, or you can't get the license, or the patients won't want to be with you. But here you are practicing with a lot of patients. Looking back, how do you kind of perceive this? What are some of the highlights for you that on this journey that made you believe in yourself to kind of continue pursuing this?
I think it's It's a very good journey, and there is always. When I came here, I decided that I'm going to set my target. I came here with my target, and we call it you burned your ships. I came to Japan, and I'm not leaving before finishing my target.
Mm-hmm.
So there are many hard times, of course. There are like ups and downs. Some moments you feel that this is not going to work, and no, I can't do this. But 諦めるのはいつでもできる.
You can always give up.
Yes, you can always give up. Okay, I always had that in my mind. You want to give up? Okay, if you want. But why not try when you can? I think for 20 years old, 30 years old, you can just give all your energy to something you find challenging. It's not only about medicine, it's about everything in life. Whatever you dream and whatever high your Mount Everest, challenge it and do it when you are 20, 30. Because now I am in my 40s, and if I have to do this again from now on, it's totally different. I had different energy at 20s and 30s, and there are sometimes sometimes when you achieve it, you are proud of yourself, and you respect yourself that you could achieve that. Like me, 10 years ago, didn't do that, and didn't have this skill. I didn't believe I can speak Japanese. I tried, it worked, and then no one challenged the medical license being a doctor in Japan. I tried, it worked, and during the trip, many nice things happened. Like I came here as a medical student, and I work as a researcher. And to find my financial support during the PhD, I searched some part-times. I find part-time in the NHK. I worked as an announcer. I worked as a reporter, TV reporter. I went to different world. I didn't plan for this. You find new experiences. You learn new skill. You stand in front of the camera, and you stand in front. My first international conference was in Japan in different language in front of foreign people. I didn't expect that to happen. I had a chance to visit a very famous university. I went to Harvard. I went to Karolinska Institute. I was doing an interview, and I presented in front of the head of the Nobel Committee, and I met many nice people, many Nobel laureates. I met some people in chemistry, some in medicine. I didn't think that will happen, but when you have a plan and you go, many also nice things happen as well. So I think it's worth it, and whatever your target is, on the way you might encounter new plans God made for you. That's my plan, but God's plan is always putting more and more for me, and then I don't know what is the future is carrying. Maybe more interesting thing happen. I think we have to do our best, and the future reveal itself for us. Yeah.
So what is next for you on that journey? You kind of had this big goal that you set for yourself. You didn't give up. Do you have a new goal set now that you're pursuing?
Yeah, actually, I'm very excited about the research we're doing now, and finally I can being a bridge between Japan and the Middle East. I want to try to convey this new technology, our new treatment. I want to deliver it to the Middle East. I want to have collaboration with them. I want some students from the Middle East, from other countries as well. When I passed the test, there was some news about that. I had communication from Europe, from Australia. Some medical students want to come to Japan. I tried to explain to them what to do and how to do it. Japan also in need for researcher, and it's just like the US, they built lots of success in the scientific field by having bright minds coming from all over the world. And in Japan, the barrier, the language barrier, if we can allocate suitable institutes for that, where they can use English, or while they are studying Japanese also do research, I think you can benefit from the brilliant minds of the world, and brilliant students come work here, enjoy Japan, and go again to their country and spread the Japanese culture and become ambassadors for Japan there. It happened here for many people who come and study. And if I can be a bridge between them, I'm sure I can bring some students to study here as well. And on personal level, I always wanted to be a pilot, so I'm not giving up on my dream yet. So
Getting a pilot license here in Japan?
Yes, you can, but they are starting to. I collected some data. Some you have to study in Japanese, some in English. So I'm not studying in Japanese for a while now. So I want to rest from Japanese studying. I want to study it in English, but it's a big dream. Also, I want to achieve it. Yeah, I mean, life is about having new experience and more dreams. Never give up on your dreams, and yeah, and meet nice people every time. They make you have wider vision and make you happy. And dealing with the patient every day also is very happy, especially in our field, because when people regain their vision, they're really happy. They give you a smile that you never forget. Especially people who lost their both eyes vision. When I do surgeries for people, and now it's cataract surgery. If it is really vision is bad, when they recover, they are so happy. They appreciate so much. But if that's like the minor decrease in visual acuity, they don't feel the difference, and it's kind of that's usual. They don't really feel that impact so much. But if I do like transplantation surgery for patient with no vision acuity, and I remember a case like that was at KO. I did one patient. She was a lady, and it was early in spring. I did cornea transplantation, one eye. She didn't see at all before the surgery. After the surgery, her vision improved like 0.2 visual acuity. We call it in Japan, we count it like 0.1 in decimal, 0.1, 0.2 until 1.0. I think her visual acuity improved like 20%, but she was so happy. More than any patient I ever done surgery for. Because you never know the value of something until you lose it. And if you lose your vision, imagine, 80% of your information come from your eye. Try to close your eye and do anything in life. You can't eat or live or move or see people you love. And then when she recovered her vision, she was so happy. She told me, now it's sakura season. I can see sakura. And for the first time, I can see my grandchild.
Wow.
It's amazing. There are times when you get that love or happiness, you can feel it on the patient. These are rare moments, but suddenly you feel it in your heart. And it is really worth all the hard work you're doing.
Everything you've put into achieving your goals, I think that kind of makes it worth it. And these are like moments you can keep with you forever.
Yes, definitely, yes.
Dr. Osama Ibrahim, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you.
We covered a lot of topics. Before we wrap up our conversation, is there anything that you wanted to talk about that maybe I forgot to ask or we didn't get into that you would have liked to share today?
I think we covered many topics. It depends on the listeners. Maybe some of them want to come to Japan and thinking about coming to Japan. I think coming to Japan is a really unforgettable experience in your life. Maybe many people ask me, should I just come and take the license? I'm telling them, come to visit Japan for 2 weeks. You'll be very happy. If you want to stay more, come apply to a university and stay for 1 year. Do some research, go all over Japan, eat some nice food, and make friends. You'll come back happy. And if you have more energy, come with your friends or family and have a PhD course here. You will have excellent time, and lovely people will support you everywhere. First 1-2 years, you'll be happy. Third year, you'll be a little busy. You have to finish your paper. You'll be a bit stressed. And then by the fourth year, you'll graduate. And I think by the fourth year, you'll be having enjoyed the whole experience of Japan. And then you can go back to your country, and this will be unforgettable experience in your life. If you want to pursue your career here and have medical license, I think you should have in mind that it will take few years. So if you are planning to stay here for more than 10 years, maybe worth it. But if it is like overall, I'm going to stay only 4 years, you spend most of it in the hard work part, so you won't be enjoying so much. So careful planning is very important when you are visiting Japan.
Thank you very much.
Yes, pleasure is mine.
Thank you everyone for listening and watching. This was Unpacking Japan, and we'll be back in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for sticking with us all the way till the end. We really appreciate it. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the podcast. It helps us improve the show and bring you more in-depth conversations from Japan. Take care and see you next time.